Just for the purpose of my bandwidth, because there are a lot of people on this call, I'm going to turn off my video so we don't have any issues, but I will get going from here. So starting out, a lot of you who've already used the tool fairly extensively may recognize the screen. This is going to be the dashboard that you get when you first log into SalesOS. What's really cool about this dashboard is you can customize it to what you guys are targeting. It's kind of laid out in a LinkedIn timeline social media setting. It's allowing you to get some information on like the industry you guys are presiding in or specific companies as well. How to edit this to adjust those settings to match what you guys do is you can click on Manage My Feed, and then you can set up settings through here. So through general settings, we're going to hit edit. You can type in the industries or location and even company size if that matters. That all kind of target what you guys are looking for. You can also do this with intent. I'm going to be honest with you guys though, this is just a widget to show you how your current intent topics are performing. It won't do anything else that intent does. So just take that as you will. But if you did want to set this up, you can just click Explore All Intent Topics and then choose your topics from there to specify. Any questions over the dashboard section? Nice. We are going to hop in advanced search first. I feel like this is the best order of operations, kind of walking through everything. This is going to be a screen that you guys live in a lot, whether it's through the reach out extension, which we will go through later, or through the main desktop application. Personally, some of you may not be viewing my screen like this. If your screen looks like this is our new search experience. I personally do not really like this UI change, but I will explain the reasoning for it. Essentially, what we did is that we broke down each filter into its own separate filter. And if you actually click the Show All Filters button down here, you can pin what filters you want to use and then unpin filters that don't matter to you. That way, you're kind of creating this experience where you're only seeing filters that you want to hit on. So if you guys do want to set this up, by all means, feel free. I personally like doing demos out of the old experience just because I feel like it's easier for especially newer people on the platform to understand. It's a lot more of a methodical approach because you can just kind of go down each filter and hit on subsegments as you go. So I like giving the option, but I will be working out of the old view. Starting out with contacts, what I'd like to target here is job titles, buying committee, and contact info. Personally, the other filters, in my opinion, are not that necessary, depending on your use case. Contact name or email is going to be searching up an individual in the platform. If you guys are trying to find a phone number for someone that you already have an email for, you can throw their email in here. Otherwise, type in their first name or their full name, rather. Status change is going to be if you're trying to find new hires at companies or newly people added to the platform. And the other filter is mainly used by talent acquisition specialists, just seeing if you care about their college or degree. I don't really go into these filters as in depth. I will start with job titles though, and I'm going to back up to buying committee. I highly recommend that you all will set up your buying committee after this call, as it will help save some time moving forward. But with job titles, it is broken down into 3 separate parts. You're going to have this search bar at the top where you can type in any job title or a keyword that resembles a job title, even if you do not see it in the department and job function list below. Other than that, you can just use management level and job departments and functions to specify the contact level that you're trying to reach. I do want to note that in the old view, every time you see an addition sign, there will be sub-segments that you guys can target. This is going to be the same for company, industry, and a few other filters as well. Any questions over job titles, or it's pretty self-explanatory? Cool. I will jump into buying committee. The reason buying committee is important is that this is basically a way to template out your job titles so you don't need to manually enter them in every single time you're making a search. So what you can do is you can click on this list and then it will actually take you to the settings page on this blue hyperlink. Once you select this, this is what your screen is going to look like. You can change this. Any end user can create their own buying committee. It's not like intent, where intent topics are covering the whole organization, and you can change this as often as you wish. So you can do up to 8 different personas or job titles. And if you click this add persona button, You can either do it by department, so basically the job title filter broken down, or again, by the job title name. Specify job title or a keyword that makes one up is good. So when you're done here, so if I even want to do like VP of sales, you just hit add persona, and then you can hit save. So the cool thing about this is if when I go back to advanced search and I apply my buying committee, it's only going to show me VP of sales, owners, and CEOs. So just a really quick way to apply your job titles very instantly. This will help with a lot of workflows with intent as well when we get into that. Any questions over these two filters? Great. Moving into contact info. I highly recommend this is used on every search that you guys do, as this is solidifying the information you're trying to receive from prospects. As you can see here, if I don't even use this filter at all, you can see the first 3 people have everything I'm looking for: a direct phone, a mobile phone, and an email. But then you can see even Chris doesn't have a mobile phone. So if this was a data point you were looking at and you didn't use contact info, your export could have a lot of missing data that you thought you were receiving, which essentially could be a wasted credit for you guys. So how to avoid that is you can click on this Any Info dropdown and then select the parameters you're wishing to receive from each of the personas that you're targeting. What is important to note about this filter is the any versus all switch here. It's going to default to any, which is very similar to an or Boolean logic. So what that means is essentially out of all of your selected parameters, it's looking for at least one. It will give you a larger list of people, but it's going to return back people that may just have an email, people that may have all 3, or a combination of 2. If you only want to focus on people that have all selected parameters, make sure you're on all. Perfect. Moving past this, we have our accuracy score. This is our confidence in how up-to-date the job location of the individual is. So how confident we are that Scott McCurdy still works at HP Fleet. If you guys do ever come across information where you're getting incorrect emails or phone numbers, I do suggest either a few options. One, you can increase the score to give you guys higher rated data. 2, you can actually click on the individuals that had a incorrect email or an incorrect phone number, anything like that. You can click these 3 little dots on the right-hand side of the screen and suggest a contact update. You can actually tell our research team what is incorrect, and they will prioritize that and update that for you. Otherwise, you can actually send me a list of individuals as well if anything is incorrect. And it can only be about a list, I believe, of like 10 to 20 people. And then we can prioritize and change those and update those for you as well. That is contacts as a whole. Any questions before I continue? Sweet. One thing actually before I do go into companies that I would like to mention, this is a newer feature that all of you have that we released in the last month or so. It's called Most Likely to Engage. What's really cool, so anytime you guys see an icon with a fire over an email or a phone, we have this on only about 10 million contacts in our database right now. We are trying to increase it. Through AI data analysis on our end, we have deduced that these are ways of interaction that these people are most likely able to respond to. So either via email or phone. So Melanie is more apt to picking up her direct phone than answering an email. Lucy is more apt to answer an email. You guys can actually sort your searches on the right-hand side of the screen here by most likely to engage by phone or email. So I do like to point that out, which is really cool. If I click this, it will bring up all email most likely to engage contacts that we have for this list up to the front of the list. Now I will go into companies. So companies, I like to talk about here, company name, very quick. If you guys are targeting a specific company in the platform, whether it is a current customer or a customer you're trying to break into, use their URL in this filter and it will pull up only that company's data. If you type in a company name such as Apple, I could get over 200,000 results with Apple in the company name. But if I'm doing www.apple.com, only Apple's going to show up. Moving forward into industry, this is the biggest filter within companies that we will talk about. And this filter is broken down into a couple ways. You do have this list that's very similar to departments and job functions. You can use this search bar to pull. So I know in your guys' case, Tim wanted me to go over healthcare. You can actually type in health, and it will pull up all of our healthcare industries that we have on file. Or you guys can just utilize this list. Again, each time you see an addition sign, so in this case, I'll just do hospitals and physician clinics, you can see subsegments here. What I will show you guys about this, so if I just come in and type in health again, and I'll just do healthcare services as a whole, once you select something from this list, you will get this any versus primary box ungrayed out. What this is telling you is similar to contact info. It's going to say, hey, everybody, if it's on any, which it will default to, we are going to give you a bigger list of companies to work through, but we are going to give you companies that operate in that space solely as a primary industry. That's all they do as a company. And then we're also going to give you some companies that have some sort of footprint in that space. They either have a department that works in that space or they partner with companies in that space. If you guys don't want to deal with that, make sure you're on primary. It's only going to show you companies that operate in that space solely. Now, what's really cool about the industry filters, if you guys start using this tool and you start going through this list here, and you're either kind of clearing out the list that you already created and you're not really finding much other relevant information, or if you're just not finding information that is getting good results, there's other things you guys can do. You can use these filters down below. You can use industry keywords, company description keywords, or you guys can use the NICS code filter. Tim, I can send this over to you to share with the team after the call. We do have a sheet, an Excel sheet, that you can kind of see how the industries are laid out via each code. And then you guys could use those codes. So I will make a note to send that over. Industry keywords and company description keywords are very, very cool filters to use, and they really do help you create a little bit more unique and creative niche searches. What these filters are doing, there is a difference. Industry keyword scans an entire company's website, give you the broad view of the industry they reside in, and I'll give you guys an example in a minute. Company description keyword scans the company description page of a website, giving you much more niche results as to what you're trying to find. An example, I used to work with a customer that was trying to find local grocery stores in the state of Florida. If I typed in local grocery store keywords into industry keywords, I was getting a few local grocery stores, but I was mainly getting companies like Amazon, Walmart, and Target because they do sell groceries as an industry. So they're technically loosely in that industry. If I type those same keywords in the company description, fresh, local, farm to table, what have you, I was only getting local grocery stores. Best practice over this filter, ways to use keywords. Obviously, you guys know the industries you're targeting the best. Anything that you can come up off the top of your head for experimentation, definitely use. Otherwise, I recommend going to current customers' websites, seeing how they describe themselves on their About Us page, or looking at those companies inside of ZoomInfo. If you actually type their company name into ZoomInfo, and let's just say I click on Upward Labs, what you guys can actually do once the company profile loads is scroll down here to this attributes box, and you guys can actually go to products and services to help give you more keywords. This is a loose example because it looks like they're literally just a lab. It will give you more keywords to use to help critique your searches. That's something I do like pointing out as well. Other things you can do in the company profile that may be of use to you guys is you guys can go and look at technologies and attributes if you're determining if they're using a specific tech stack. You guys could also look at websites, which we'll talk about later on. Same thing with intent, and also like their employee chart, which is pretty cool. Any questions over the industry filter? I know that was a lot of information. Great. Moving forward into the rest of the filters under the company column, we have headcount. That's going to be the size of the business that pertains to you guys. If that matters, you can set the headcount here. Financials is going to be company revenue. If you're targeting specific companies in the healthcare industry with a revenue kind of allocation, you can set that up as well. Otherwise, you can also set funding rounds within the financials tab. You have your company attributes here. This is going to be your Fortune ranking companies. And then, and maybe you can answer this for me. I'm going to have to double check right now. Do you remember what complete subscription tier you guys are on?
I'm sorry, say again.
Your SalesOS subscription tier. Do you remember which one you're on?
What do you mean by that?
So there's like Advanced, Pro, Elite, things like that. I'm looking right now.
We don't have Elite.
Okay, so you guys are in Advanced Plus. So just one thing for you and Tim to note then, Chad. If you guys were on Elite, you have access to advanced company attributes. Why that's important for what you guys do is you actually have access to more medical facility information that you could use to build out searches. So just throwing it out there, if you're ever curious on learning more about this, you can just email me and I can loop in your account manager to talk more on it. I just want to make that aware for you guys here. I feel like that this would be beneficial for you. But cool. Moving on. Model will be the last filter inside of companies. This is specifying your business model and company type. So B2B, B2C, or specific company types. If you guys are only dealing with healthcare industry and you're not touching on anything nonprofit, government, or education, you can just click on private and public, and it will remove all of those results from your search. Any question over companies? So locations is a fairly self-explanatory filter. We will be coming back and using this as a little bit of a cheat code to refine your guys' prospect list with intent. Just remember the specify HQ and contact location filter. We will hit on that in a little bit. Otherwise, you guys can use this search bar to type in a location, or you have your US state, metro regions. If you guys work out of territories, you can apply those as well. CA stands for Canadian, and then you have international data. You also have postal code information. If you guys do work out of territories and you wanted to specify a postal code and a radius around that, you can do that. How to activate this is you can actually click into any state location. You have to specify location first, type in the postal code that resembles, and then you can adjust your radius from 10 miles to 250 miles. Other than that, that is essentially the basics of SalesOS Advanced Search. A couple things I did want to show you guys, though, that are additional is the exclusions tab. I would make sure you guys are using this upon every search. This is going to help avoid duplicates across different team members. Org exported contacts and companies is all other information exported from everybody else that has a ZoomInfo license at your organization besides you. And then my is obviously your past exported data. Moving past that, you guys can also utilize tags. Tags is a way to create some organization in the platform. Very similarly to exporting. So I will say this as a note now. 0 selected is the same as all. So currently I have 1,882 contacts selected for export. If you try to select the page, it will only select 25. That's the way our product team built it out, not to overload our servers. So let's remember 0 selected is all. Same rules for tagging. For tagging, you can tag up to 5,000 contacts or companies at a time. You can just click the tag button, name it whatever you guys want. Once this is set up and checked off, you can just click tag. It will confirm the amount of contacts, and then you can hit yes. What's really nice about this is you can use tags to build out searches before you export. So if you want to do a couple different searches and just do one big export, you can do that. Or you can use tags for exclusions. So a lot of people I talk to will do what's called a reverse search and either look up their competitors or they'll look up companies that they know would pop up and they just don't want to hit on them. And you guys can make an exclusion company tag. From there, if you go back into the exclusion filter, you can find your tag that you made. Once I check this off, all of these results will disappear because now I'm excluding this whole tag. That's something I like to point out as well. Any questions before I dive into intent? That'll be the next feature that we talk about. Great. So moving into intent. Intent is our way of giving you guys more warm-based opportunities compared to just making a cold calling list out of advanced search. What we're doing with intent is that we're using data and technology from our end, as well as third-party company data, to create topics that you guys chose that resemble your business. And then we're also tracking business IP addresses that are doing research on your topics. What we're not doing with intent is we cannot track the individual or group of people doing the research, as that's a breach of personal privacy, which is why we give you guys the company. But I will show you some cheat codes to get a good prospect list. And we're also not tracking their Google search history. We're tracking the landing page they end up on over the amount of time you set with the date range filter that we will talk about. And that is how we are getting them in your list. What you can do with intent topics, what I really recommend is I do recommend once you guys get a handle on all of these filtering options, you make save and subscribe searches for each topic. That does sound like a pain, but I promise you once you set those up and kind of spend some time at the beginning, your workflow is going to be a lot much faster moving through intent as you use it as the months come along. What I mean by that is if I clear all of these and I selected like a couple just for this example, right now with all 12 topics selected on my demo account, I believe you guys should have 6. I have 700,000 companies. That's just an overwhelming list. So that's why I recommend making save searches for like 1 to 2 topics at a time. A, it's going to be a less overwhelming list. B, it's going to be a lot easier to keep track of what topic you're working on when you're pulling these prospecting lists. What's also really cool is that saves lists also update in real time. When you do have these filters adjusted and you have the correct topics allocated to each search, all you're going to have to do is open up that search after you save it, and then you're instantly ready to pull prospects. You don't have to do any adjustments unless if you want to. So I will walk through the save search process after I discuss the filters. I did just want to say all of that before we get started. Any questions over intent before I get going? Oh, like I said, you guys can toggle on and off topics using this bar here. You can just click clear all, select the topics you want, then click apply. Now we're going to be talking about all of these filters here. The filters you see down here are very reminiscent of advanced search. That's because they're the same filters with advanced search, and then you can actually use this to your power with your save and subscribe searches. You can set up industries already as well. You don't even need to worry about that. So I do recommend using that as your saved searches as you're building them out. If you ever have questions over these filters moving forward after we talk about them, either email me or hit up this graduation tab that shows you guys a bunch of different tutorials, tips, and tricks. Or you guys have this eye indicator as well that will tell you what each filter is doing. Starting out with date range. This is the time frame we're capturing intent data. It's going to default to the past month. You guys can adjust this down to the past 3 weeks, 2 weeks, week, so on and so forth. What I do recommend as a best practice with intent, the further you're going through a month, I would adjust this date range down so you're getting most relevant data. That being said, just because the longer these people are on this list, the more time they have to figure out their solution or their answer to their research. So if you guys are on the 2nd or 3rd week of a month, maybe throw it down to the past 2 weeks or past weeks. You're getting the newest up-to-date data on this list. Furthermore, I will go into advanced filtering. So we have Signal Score. Signal Score works directly hand in hand with your date range. Essentially, what this means is the closer to 100, the more research is being done at the company. That being said, everybody at 100 is not a surefire grade A prospect. As for the same reasons as date range, if they've been in this list for a while, they could have already found their solution. So I do suggest experimenting with this filter. What I can tell you from our learning and development team, the range from 68 to about 92 is the range we've seen on our end that companies are starting to get into the deeper research phase. If you guys wanted to use this as an intro scale, maybe to try to break into companies early on, get ahead of any competitors, get your foot in the door earlier, Feel free. Otherwise, you can shoot it to 100 and just kind of work your way down from there. See what works, see what doesn't work. Really find that level that's going to be efficient for your routine. Any questions over Signal 4? Cool. Moving forward on audience strength. It's how much an estimation scale of 1 to 5. So it's not 1 to 5 people. It's just a scale of how many people are doing the research at a company. So closer to 5, more people doing the research. Best practice for myself, I always leave this 3 to 5, as even at 3, there's a decent amount of interest coming from that company. What I'll talk about next is spikes in date range. This is another way that we help create the list that you guys see with intent. What spikes in date range mean and what it's doing is, on top of all of the repetitive research being done at these companies through intent, we're also looking at this threshold that we're creating with these filters. Spikes in date range is how many times they are breaking this threshold over the date range time period. So the higher spikes in date range, the more interest, again, is coming from the company. What I will tell you guys is that in a given month, 3 is very high for spikes in date range. We have about 31,000 results right now. If I type in a 3 here, that will shoot down. You guys can see when this loads, about 200 results. So what's important to know about this is you guys can use this at the beginning of a month or a week to prioritize this smaller, more condensed list, because you know all of them have high spikes in date range. And then you can prioritize these companies first, then come back later in the month and maybe adjust this level down. Any questions over this, over spikes, how it works, anything like that? Cool. Signal location is going to be the last filter we talk about with intent, and it's actually a very cool filter. We just implemented it last summer, and it really helps a lot of people while using intent. So even though we cannot give you guys the exact people doing the research, we're doing the next best thing, and we're showing you where that intent signal came from. So again, based off your guys' specific territories, if you work out of that way, you can set the areas you're targeting and view only intent signals from that location. It differs from the regular location filter down below because this filter is only showing headquarters locations. So I would recommend you guys use signal location every time. For this example, I will do Colorado because that's where I'm based out of right now. And then every result you guys see pop up here is going to be coming from Colorado. At this point, this would be a safe list. I would adjust the topic, save it. If you guys like how all of these are set up, you can just keep toggling on and off topics and save all couple lists in like a minute. Now we're at a point where we can actually find our prospect list. Any questions before I go through that? Cool. So very similarly to exporting, 0 selected is the same as all. We currently have 300 companies selected. What you're going to do at this point in time is you're going to hit open and search for contacts. This is pulling a static version of this list into advanced search. So now you can actually refine, use all of these main filters to get that prospect list that you're looking for. So just kind of like to recap the workflow, if you guys did make a saved search, pop that open on a Monday morning, instantly you can just pull the list over to what we're seeing now, and then you can start finding your prospects. And I'll show you guys how to even quickly do that. So in this case, let's just say you all have your buying committee set up. You're going to come in here, you're going to pop on your buying committee. All job titles you're targeting will be instantly applied. From there, we're going to specify the contact info that you want from each of those individuals. In this case, I'll just do like direct phone and business email and set it to all. After we do that, the last thing I would do here, if you guys didn't already adjust the industry settings inside of intent, this is where the cheat code comes in. So because we told the platform to use Colorado as a signal location, I know that this intent list is all coming from Colorado. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reselect the thing I did for signal location. So in this case, it would be Colorado again. Once this loads, I'm going to use that specify HQ and contact location filter. What I'm telling the platform is I know all of these signals are coming from Colorado. I specified my job titles. Now, what I want you to do is show me those job titles that work in that location. Those are going to be the people I'm trying to target. Because let's just say if the company had another office somewhere or a headquarters somewhere that you're not targeting, you don't want to call the other office or headquarters. You want to focus on the location that the signal came from. Then what I did is I unselected company HQ. I don't really care where the HQ is at. I just want to know the contacts that work in that area. Now we have our refined list from intent. We know all of these signals came from Colorado. We specified our job titles and our information, and then we only showed me the people that are working out of Colorado. You guys can export, go on your way. That's intent in short. Any questions, or are you guys still hanging in there? Sweet, nice. Moving forward, next I will show you guys websites. Websites is a very, very cool tool. And essentially what we're doing with websites is we put a piece of code in your domain and we're doing a reverse IP lookup on any companies we have in our database. If as soon as they enter your website, they don't need to fill out a form or click on any buttons. If they are in our database, we capture them for you. You guys can use this time frame filter here to adjust the time frame you're looking at. You can even do a custom range with websites. What's also really cool about websites is you guys can actually specify and filter to a specific page. So if you guys were curious and you're like, hey, I wonder what companies are checking out our pricing page today, or if you guys have a demo sign up page or anything like that, you can copy and paste that URL here, hit apply, all of those companies will filter out. What's also important to note with websites is you can have unique visits. That's the number of people from each company coming to your website. The page views are the pages they are actually coming to. They also give you your visitor's office location. This can be important because now you know where they're looking at your website from. Very similar to intent, you can target specific people that fall in line with your territory. You can even set up location filters here on the side as well to link up with your guys' territories or however you guys are working through your outreach. What's also cool about websites is you guys do have a dashboard accessibility where you can see some cool insights like unique visits over time or your most visited pages on your website and the most visited companies coming to your website. Now, how to actually do some actioning on this list. This is the one place in the platform that the product is different. I'm really not sure why the team made it like this, but instead of 0 selected as all websites, you actually have to select all. I know it's funny because I've been drilling the opposite in your guys' head all call. That's just how they built it out. Once you guys have everything selected you're looking for, you can hit open and search. And then basically rinse and repeat the same process you did with intent. You can apply your buying committee or any job titles, contact info, location, so on and so forth. And then that's your website list. And that's honestly it. Websites is a very simple tool to use. It runs 24/7 in the background on your website, but it does not consume any credits until you guys export out a list. All right. So that is the main bulk of kind of the agenda Tim and I talked about. That's everything in SalesOS, essentially. Aside from, I do see something on exporting. So I know I said the 0 selected is all for exporting. One thing to note, it looks like you guys are on Bullhorn. When you want to export, click this little side arrow, and then you guys can go down the Bullhorn. And then you can choose what you want to export over as. That's the other thing that I wanted to show you guys. Lastly, is going to be the reach out extension. Reach out extension is very cool. If you guys already have your own prospecting process and you're not really fully utilizing the SalesOS platform, this can kind of pair with that process as well. So what's really nice is when you're opening up LinkedIn, a company's website, or just pages on Google, I'll just do LinkedIn for the example. You can pull over the reach out extension. You guys can honestly just go into Google Chrome, Google ZoomInfo reach out, download it from there. Sign in using your normal ZoomInfo credentials. This is what it's going to look like. It's going to pull over on your screen. We call this the 25% view. Since we're not on anybody's specific page, it will just show you the company that the page is linked to. Otherwise, we could go, I usually just do like my CEO. If you're on someone's profile, it will actually pull up their actual contact profile. If you go to a company's website, it will pull up all company information revolving around that website. And then you guys can look at employees that work there. This 25% view offers things like LinkedIn and Twitter profiles, export capabilities. You can tag them. You can look at their phone numbers and emails, and even see other information. You have an activity feed, company details as well. Furthermore, you have these other things. So if you want to see context at a company, a news feed at what's been going on in that company, either for an icebreaker or just to give you guys more information on the industry, that's here as well. You actually can pull this view out too, which is very useful. You can pull this out to what's called the 80% view. This is a mobile instance of ZoomInfo. So you guys can use this to look at a more in-depth profile like you could see on the desktop dashboard, or you guys literally can use ZoomInfo like I was just showing you. So you can still go into advanced search, make a cold prospecting advanced search. You can still use intent, things like that. So this is available as well for the Reach Out extension. Any questions over this? Sweet.
The only thing I have is, guys, he kind of showed that mass export import sort of opportunity there. From the perspective of each individual user, I believe, Lucas, everyone has 1,000 credits they can use per month per person. They're kind of use it or lose it. Is that correct?
Correct. Yep. So I'm happy you brought that up. So the way exporting works, just so everyone knows, similar to how I showed you, but each individual end user receives 1,000 monthly allotted credits a month. What that means is that those are on a use it or lose it basis. You guys get 1,000 credits a month. If you don't, let's just say you used 800 and the month ended, you would lose those remaining 200 but get 1,000 back. That's how those work. You guys do also have access to bulk credits on your account. That's something that the admins, so like Tim and Chad, take care of. Their additional purchases, they last your entire contract term. So they roll over month to month. Tim and Chad can actually limit how much use you guys have the bulk credits every month as well. So Tim, I'm not sure if you guys set a limit on that or if you had like an idea with bulk credits. Those kick in if you guys use all your 1,000.
Yeah, so where I was kind of going with that is it's really kind of best for you guys to sort of import one at a time. If you want to, if there's a large list you want to put in, it's best to collaborate with Chad or Amy on that so they can set up the right, we don't want to throw in a bunch of information, create a bunch of duplicates and things like that. So within Bullhorn. So we've got to be a little careful there. So it's best to kind of have this up next to Bullhorn and kind of do a little bit of data hygiene as you go. But so just be very cautious with the mass import thing. And it's probably best to kind of allow us to do that on your guys' behalf if you've created a large list you're having success with. So.
And then Tim, I have a question for you because I've never used Bullhorn. Is it similar to Salesforce in the sense where if you already did have a contact in there, it would ask if you just wanted to update that contact or create a duplicate, or does Bullhorn not do that?
I'm not sure it defaults to that if you do the import from your guys' API there. It does that if we do it from our data loader. So that's where I'm uncertain. Actually, Chad, have you tested that at all?
I haven't tested it, but I haven't seen anything in it where there's a dedupe feature out of the box. So no.
I don't think your guys' API has the dedupe. So
okay, that's good to know, because I know with Salesforce, if I exported something out because we have Salesforce, it will ask me like directly, do you want this to be a duplicate or do you just want to update the existing? So I just didn't know, but yeah, in short, that is the Reach Out extension as well. pretty useful. Honestly, when I was in sales with ZoomInfo, I would use this on company websites all the time, just to either multi-thread through or just discover new like contacts I didn't have. Yeah, but that is essentially everything we had on the agenda. We have about 15 minutes left. Any questions you guys have?